She's performed on Broadway and the West End stage, and once even sang in front of the then Prince of Wales and the late Queen at a royal barbecue. But musical theatre legend Ruthie Henshall says stepping out onto the cobbles of Coronation Street is right up there with those other pinch-me moments. Ruthie is swapping the bright lights of Theatreland for a guest role on Britain's longest-running soap. And she reveals she loved it so much she would jump at the chance of a permanent part if one came up. There are people and places that you'll always be impressed by. Coronation Street is one of them, so it's definitely one of the highlights of my career, she smiles. There are certain things, such as the 10th anniversary of Les Miserables, where you go, I'll remember that forever, and this is absolutely one of them. The show is something I've dipped in and out of my whole life, so it's been quite wonderful. Yet despite being a seasoned professional, Ruthie admits that walking onto the Corrie cobbles for the very first time was daunting. In terms of cultural importance, she compares it to New York's 42nd Street. It's iconic and part of our history, so I definitely had butterflies walking out there for the first time, she explains. You can't help but feel it's a pinch-me moment. I filmed some videos on my phone, but I didn't take any pictures of myself with the cast. I didn't want to be a fangirl. It usually takes a lot to unsettle Ruthie. Her 37-year, multi-award-winning West End career has seen her star in a host of hit musicals, including Chicago, Billy Elliot, Oliver, Miss Saigon and Cats. She's a 5-time Olivier Award nominee. She won the 1995 award for Best Actress in a Musical, and she has produced 4 solo albums. And, of course, there's the memorable time Princess Diana urged her to belt out Les Miserables hit I Dreamed a Dream at a royal family barbecue. Ruthie was dating Prince Edward at the time and was invited along to the traditional summer get-together at Balmoral. I wasn't nervous because Charles had just made me a couple of martinis, which is why I ended up singing in front of the Queen, she laughs. I was feeling no pain, because I was 3 sheets to the wind. It will always be one of my greatest honors. Diana was there, Princess Margaret, the Queen Mum, Edward, and Charles. It was a particularly wonderful era. They were all bloody delightful and very welcoming, and I have nothing but nice things to say about them all. The Queen in particular was lovely. Here I was, this chorus girl dating her son. It must have been her worst nightmare. But she was really good to me. She always talked to me about things I would know something about. Ruthie, 56, arrives in Weatherfield as businesswoman Estelle, an old friend of Glenda Shuttleworth, played by fellow theatre star Jodie Prenger. The two reminisce about their times performing on cruise ships together, before Estelle attempts to talk Glenda into buying into her theatre school franchise. Ruthie says, they phoned and asked if I would do it, and, once I read the script, it was a no-brainer. It was such fun, and I had a bit of a sing-song with Jodie. We know each other of old and get on like a house on fire. I would be back there in a heartbeat if I had the chance. I'd step away from 8 shows a week in musical theatre if they offered me a permanent role. I love musical theatre, it's my passion, but it is quite grueling. Working 6 nights a week was particularly hard for Ruthie when her children were small. After the end of her 6-year romance with Prince Edward, she had a 6-year relationship with actor John Gordon Sinclair. Then, in 2001, she met Canadian singer Tim Howard, her co-star in the West End production of Peggy Sue Got Married. The couple went on to have 2 daughters, Lily and Dolly, but the marriage broke up when the children were small. Ruthie says candidly, "You feel like you have failed enormously because you haven't been able to fix what needed fixing. I can't tell you how much money I've spent on couples counseling, just trying to jam a square peg into a round hole, because I have 2 children. But if you're unhappy, you're unhappy." The divorce left Ruthie relying on family, friends and a nanny as she tried to juggle her career with being a single mum. "It was very difficult when the girls were younger," she says. "I absolutely love what I do, so you'll never hear me complaining, but it's full on and it does take over your life. Their dad wasn't really around, so I was very much on my own in every way. The hardest thing was the guilt. I had to work to pay the mortgage, but it meant I wasn't there in the moments that I really wanted to be, like picking them up from school and putting them to bed at night. I would call them from the theater to say goodnight and they'd get upset, which was hard. At times they lived in dressing rooms when I didn't have childcare." When Lily was 4 months old, Ruthie rejoined the cast of Chicago and was often obliged to bring her baby to work, handing her to her dressing assistant when she went on stage. "I was running off stage for costume changes and she would hand me Lily while she changed me," Ruthie recalls. "I remember one particular time Lily started crying as I handed her back to my dresser. I went back on and felt absolutely paralyzed, because all I could hear was her screaming at the side of the stage. Another time I was expressing milk in a side room before coming out and doing a photo shoot with 2 sexy guys, me in my sexy Chicago costume, done up to the nines. I always laugh when I see that picture, because I think, yeah, I was in the room next door expressing milk, that ain't sexy." Ruthie took part in I'm a Celebrity in 2020, but more recently she has been in the news for her unstinting campaigning for Gloria's Law. Named after her mum, who died in a care home during the COVID pandemic, the proposed law would prevent the scandal of care home residents dying alone from happening again. Recalling the lockdowns, Ruthie sighs, "It was a horrible time, as it was for lots of people, and some of it didn't need to be as painful as that, which is why I'm campaigning the way that I'm campaigning. It's really important to me that nobody in care ever has to be on their own again. It's unforgivable, it's a basic human right." Ruthie, who lives in Essex with her daughters, now 20 and 18, will be back on stage again shortly in a new production of the classic musical 42nd Street. Then in September she is launching her own theatre school, Ruthie Henshall's Cast, a 3-year diploma in performing arts, in Bury St Edmunds, Suffolk. "I really want to mentor and train the kids of the future," she says passionately. After the long darkness of the pandemic, she firmly believes life is finally picking up. "I sold my house and bought a little thatched cottage which I moved into 3 months ago, and my career is fabulous right now," she smiles. "It's been a hell of a couple of years, but the wonderful thing about life is the ebb and flow. Just when you think that it's a S-place, something happens, the tides turn and you go, okay, I'm all right now." Catch Ruthie Henshall on Coronation Street on ITV from Tuesday.